Caroline Okoje for that special report on children out of school. Well, as this morning on ITV, and we are looking at the topic of discussion, which centers on the ONNOGHEN'S issue, his resignation or retirement, and the independence of the judiciary. There's been all over these issues of the former Chief Justice of Nigeria being enmeshed in allegations of corruption charges, and all of this is taken a different twist, even why a lot of persons were in support of the former CJN and even against the decision reached by the president and suspended him. Others also took a different twist on the argument. But well, the resignation, or let's say notice of retirement, is giving us another twist to it as we x-ray that alongside the independence of the judiciary. I'm Philip Omo-Gupo, and I have an array of discussants, the custodian of the law, we call them, legal practitioners, with me to really discuss this. From my extreme left, I have a constitutional lawyer and notary public of Nigeria, Adams Aliyu. Adams Aliyu was one-time SSA to the former Governor Adams Oshomole of Edo State on legal matters. Thank you for coming, Adams.
Thank you very much, viewers. Good morning, moderator.
And also close, I have an erudite and articulate legal practitioner who was one-time Secretary General, NBA Benin Branch, Maduko David. Thanks for coming, David.
Thank you, Philip. Good morning, viewers.
Well, we've having these issues about the embattled former CJN, Water ONNOGHEN. And I choose to start with you, Adams Aliyu. Now, there's a different twist. There's this controversy, or do I call it a controversy? Not having an accurate understanding on if he resigned or if it's a notice of retirement. But it has been greeted with different reactions. What do you have to say about that?
Well, as a constitutional lawyer, it pains me that legal matters are being politicized. The appointment of a Chief Justice for Nigeria is encapsulated in the Constitution. Chapter 7, Part 1, Section 231, Sub 1, providing that the President shall appoint the Chief Justice of Nigeria based on the recommendation from the National Judicial Council and to be confirmed by the Senate, meaning that it is the President's job to appoint. That's in Section 231(1). When beggars die, there are no comments seen, as Julius Caesar said. When he makes an appointment of anybody, no comment are seen. But the day he terminates that appointment, people will carry placard that the president has acted ultra-very so he has terminated somebody. When he did the appointment of that person, nobody will say anything. So the Constitution provides again that 231 sub 3 that the person to be appointed CJN should have practiced law for 15 years in Nigeria. And 231 sub 4 provides that if there's a vacancy in the position of CJN, the next person in the hierarchy of seniority will step into his shoes. All these are constitutional matters. So when ONNOGHEN was appointed in 2016, he was confirmed 2017. He was the then most senior person to move in. As ONNOGHEN has stepped aside as it were, as we are talking now, the next senior person to him, Justice Ibrahim Mahmood, has stepped in. Nobody demonstrated. The day Mahmood will be removed from office now, people will carry placards.
Yes, in talking about that, there has been this whole issue about some persons reacting over the suspension of the former CJN. Now, even there has been, the polity was heated to a point where a political party was also involved.
Okay, I don't want to mention that.
Now, looking at this, can we say the decision of NJC reached where it said that the former Chief Justice of Nigeria should go on compulsory retirement? does it seem to approve or seem to also look at the issues of the president in suspending the CGN?
It will be
does it commemorate the story?
It will be speculative and prejudicial, anticipatory, in bad faith, to insinuate what NJC said. The man is to be appointed with the primature of the NJC. He was chairman of that NJC before. His colleagues met and recommended their findings to the president. As at now, we are not told the details of that recommendation last week.
The details of the recommendations by the
NJC, it was not told.
But it's on news that he was told to go on compulsory retirement.
He have recommended and submitted to the president their findings after interviewing him. Onnoghen now,
after taking investigations?
Yes, after investigation and everything, NJC recommended. We don't know the details of that recommendation. Onnoghen on his own now said that he retired. The opponents or the bad wishers, not the wishers now, they say he resigned. Others said he stepped aside. But the simplicity truth is that he is no more in office. And he is aware of the particulars in that recommendation of the NJC.
Okay, I'll come back to you. David Marco, there's this impression by the public that if with the allegations of corruption charges leveled against him, that it was too quick for him to take a bow, which seemed to corroborate what the president did say over the corruption charges as alleged on him. What do you make of that?
Well, firstly, I'd like to toe the line by my learned friend that the issues in the judiciary are being politicized too much. The judiciary is the third arm of government. It is supposed to be an independent arm of government. Unfortunately, what has played out over the past 1 year or so has made us a laughing stock in the Committee of Nations. The whole ONNOGHEN'S episode is rather unfortunate. We are not talking now of the culpability or otherwise of ONNOGHEN. I would choose to look more at the procedure. The procedure. You know, a procedure you follow that is devoid of people having faith in it.
Yes, but we've dwelt on that for quite a long time.
Yes.
On the procedure.
Yes.
But the former CJN nailed it by giving, as reports have it, by resigning.
Yes.
Or as some also say, yes, by giving a notice of retirement. Does that not seem to corroborate the story?
How can that corroborate it? The man has a right to resign if he wants to resign. More so, the NJC recommended compulsory retirement for him with full benefits to the president the day before, and the day after he resigned.
Okay, so, but some also believe that the recommendations of the NJC, good to know that you said recommended
yes,
that he should retire.
Yes.
But unlike what the constitutional lawyer said, no such decision has not been reached. So
the NJC recommended to the president. What he said is that we do not know
the decisions reached.
We do not know, yes, the content. It is only what is made known to us in the news that the NJC has recommended that
it goes on compulsory retirement.
Yes, with full benefits to the president. Now, the president accepting is another issue that people are not even talking about. Accepting the resignation.
Yes.
The man from the presidency now, we have not heard any word, because not accepting it will raise another kind of issues.
The president has to be on the ground.
Yes, to do that. So the man has on his own, you know, said I'm resigning, and has forwarded it in a written form to the president. It's left for the president to answer, to reply to that, and several other things will follow.
Yes, but that aspect of resigning or giving a notice of retirement seems to open a can of worms that relates to
I don't understand
the allegations.
I don't understand this kind of worms you are saying. A man is under trial. a judgment has not been reached one way or the other. There are several other allegations against him. Allegations. Please, let us be careful. You see, what is really killing this country? One thing that is killing this country is the issue of media trial. It's killing this country. And I wish the sooner we can put laws in place to check issues of media trial, the better for us. Because you see, this man has already been arraigned, castigated, prosecuted, and judgment served on him in the media. So the average Nigerian has the, oh, that corrupt man. Even the CCB, that where all these things emanated from, and the CCT, the matter is still there. It has not been reached one way or the other. It's still there. But you are now insinuating from your question that does it not corroborate the fact that the man is corrupt? I mean, I'm not the one saying that. That is your question. Yes. That is your question.
That is the argument in public domain.
So what is the basis for that? When the competent court of law has not pronounced on it. And that's what we keep saying. You see, in this whole thing, we have a lot of lessons to learn, both on the government side and both on the executive side and the side of the judiciary. A lot of lessons to pick from it.
Okay.
But then one will be wondering, if you want to go wider and further into this matter, you wonder, why is it that our respected President Muhammad Buhari, why does he have issues with our Chief Justices?
Okay.
In 1984, he removed the then Chief Justice, Soja Indeshowemimo. It was the same man that removed him with all this kind of imbroglio and problems in 1984. And now again it's repeating. So one begins to wonder. But let's not go into that. That's by the side. But what we are saying is this: proper procedure and practice should be followed. The Constitution and all other enabling laws have stipulated a procedure to. Once you miss it from the first instance, to now start to provide explanations, you could have just done well to do the right thing. Now, NJC took it upon themselves. When the thing should have come from them, you didn't go through them. You started going through other means. Now they took it upon themselves on the petition. And please, let us also appreciate and understand one thing. NJC did not base their decision on anything going on in CCB or CCT. Because a lot of people will get it wrapped up there.
Okay, are you trying to say that
it's not based on that?
NJC didn't base its decision
on... No, it was based on the petition from EFCC.
The charges of corruption leveled against him.
From the ones going on now in the CCB, they clearly stated it. They didn't look at that. What they based their decision on was from another petition from the EFCC, another fresh petition.
Okay.
You understand? So let us not get it wrapped up. Because a lot of people will feel that, okay, with all the media trial from the CCB and all we have been hearing, NJC now made them based on that. No, they said we are not even looking at that. And finally, if I may just add this. Now, I would wonder, I would think aloud and say, I really wonder why the decision of the NJC. Because, you see, not as concerning Onnoghen particularly, but as concerning the now acting CJN, Tanko Mohammed. Because a precedent before now had been set in Rivers State, in Abia State, that you cannot even accept the position of acting in any capacity without the prior confirmation or recommendation of NJC. And those who did that have been severely punished in the past. The example of Abia State is there not too long ago, 2014 I think also, Rivers State. So now, we are wondering, why the double standard? Why the difference in this case of Onnoghen?
Okay.
And we just seriously pray that the judiciary has not been cowed to be a whip child, a child you can whip and push into line.
The hit is on the judiciary. Back to you, Adams Aliyu.
Yeah.
Now, with the whole issue being brought up in the retirement, notice of retirement by the former CJN, Walter Onnoghen, some also argue that the president acted in national interest for suspending the former CJN. What do you think about that?
The president told the line of the Code of Conduct Tribunal. Code of Conduct Tribunal was investigating Onnoghen via the FCC and recommended to the president suspend such and such a person. If the letter of recommendation did not come from the code of conduct to the president, the president would have suspended him. And now that he has been suspended, his resignation or retirement, as it were, cannot be confirmed, yes, unless the president is outside the country.
Okay, but the suspension by the president, how do you say it? Was it right?
That's what I'm saying now. It was constitutional. He has power to appoint people as CGN via section 231 sub 1. And not say that the CTC recommended to him. So everything was constitutionally done.
Okay, do you toe the line of your colleague in the profession? Because he said that the process was not properly followed. Do you toe the line he brought up in the argument?
Process of suspension.
Yes, that it didn't follow due process.
When a recommendation has been made by the CTC, although there was equally a proviso that NJC should first try him as an in-house trial. Just like now, it is the NJC in the long run that tried him. And when they have brought out their findings, still a secret as far as I'm concerned, he had the wind of it and resigned. And the resignation, as I'm saying, has not been accepted. If he is accepted, he will be sent off with razzmatazz, fanfare,
huge benefits.
But if he is dismissed, if the resignation and retirement is further to president is not accepted, he will be sacked and dismissed with ignominy. And but however, all these have nothing to do with his standing before the EFCC. In the beginning, he didn't want to appear. That CCC had no local standing, had no power to try. But now he's appearing because he's from the law. So, after all, ex-CG Onoghen is 69 this year. Their compulsory retirement age is 70 at the Supreme Court. Next year, 2020 December, he would have gone. So, this is not where he had had many offices. He has been there. Supreme Court is 205, and so it's nothing lost. It is not left for him to prove his case of innocence before EFCC.
Okay. Now the allegations are still hanging, and
yes,
like what the constitutional lawyer said, he needs to prove his case. Now, what happens looking at the retirement? Peradventure, the president accepts the retirement. What happens to the allegations? Would they be swept under the carpet?
No. The case at CCB is ongoing. If he accepts the retirement, fine, he lives with his full benefits. His full benefits, which I think I understand will amount close to about 2.5 billion of taxpayers' money. With other benefits,
2.5
billion. Yes, and pension.
Yes,
in naira.
Well,
okay, yes,
well, yes, in naira. Definitely, it can't be in dollars. So he's going to go with all that, you know. But just to quickly,
but if he's to go with all that, assuming that, and with the issues of these allegations not cleared, wouldn't it be proper for him to clear this case before such will be done? Wouldn't it be proper?
We are going back to the issue of procedure that I said. How it is done is if his resignation letter is accepted by the presidency. That is what follows it. And on the recommendation of the NJC that give this man full benefits.
Yes.
Do not also forget.
And the question I still
raised. Do not also forget that the NJC, you don't have dollars there. You have wise men. They have also appreciated any question you want to ask now. They have looked at the circumstances there.
Yes.
And they have
Nigerians are also very sensitive about this. Now,
yes,
if the president is to take a decision,
Nigerians are not
on accepting the notice of retirement or not,
yes,
wouldn't it sensibly be based on the allegations of corruption leveled against him that needs to be cleared first before taking such a decision?
Nothing is stopping the allegation of corruption to continue to be investigated.
Yeah.
Nothing stops that. That's why I say, you see, sometimes we have a problem with layman's perception. It's a problem in this country. I'm telling you now that the NJC have experts who have looked at this thing, but you see, the layman will always see it in their own view, causing a problem. Now, when the experts have looked at this issue, they have seen that there are places. Well, it is my view. You can claim it to me, lay to me. that there are places where probably, in all fair probability, this man has been wronged. There are also places where this man might probably have done wrong. And they have balanced the issue in reaching that decision. They have balanced all those factors. So you as a layman cannot go and say, what of the corruption? The experts have looked at it. What locus do you have as a layman now to be questioning? They have looked at it, and based on their findings, they have made a recommendation to the president. So now, if you want to go into the issue over and over again, my little friend there was talking about the CCB, you know, and the EFCC. The petition for the CCB was written by Mr. Agaya. The present petition that we are talking about that affects the SYCGN, written by one Mr. Desa, that was the one, the EFCC one that the agency looked at. That is the one that they based their recommendation on. There are two different things.
Okay, thank you.
I'm trying to, you know, divide this so that we can appreciate it better. The case is, to me, is one full of some form of technicalities here and there,
but not dicey.
It's also dicey. It's also dicey because you see there would seem to be some seeming injustice done when you look at the fast rate of prosecution. You look at the issue of other higher courts orders stopping the CCB from going on.
You look at the hits of the executive, of the judiciary,
and the disregard for those orders, which nobody's talking about.
Yes, we'll be taking that. We'll be taking that. Thank you, David Mazuko. Thank you.
So there are a lot of factors to balance.
We'll be talking about that. Now we're on the resignation and retirement notice of retirement by the former CGN, Walter Onnoghen, and the independence of the judiciary. But we'll be taking a break, and after this, we'll be extending the frontiers of this discussion. Do stay tuned.
When the bed do they enter body.
Thing really pissed me off now when I want to talk. I go use your platform to talk this thing.
If I talk here, no go finish. So more from around for your program, I go expose everybody.
On a Saturday morning, that's the exact feel you get as you tune in to the Saturday Show with your host to the most, Sydney Shocker on ITV.
Able God. Shower your blessings on this Melissa. Hey, she won't drive Bentley. Able God.
What about the place I was speaking about so much grace? Nobody heard that part.
8 a.m. Never you miss out.
Sydney Shocker, man, you've been holding it down for ages, man. Keep listening to Sydney Shocker. You understand? We'll shock you. Come on, Lego high tension. Believe the voltage in the shock.
While we had a break, we were opportunity to be joined by a former member of Edo State House of Assembly representing Orion 2 constituency and a legal practitioner, Honorable Friday Ogerake. Many thanks for coming.
It's a pleasure to be back here.
Now, following the discussion, following the issues arising from the resignation, as some put it, by the former CJ and Walter Onnoghen, there's this group loyal to the president, BMO, which said that the PDP should bury their heads in shame over the fact that they were in support of the former CGN and even took some a break from their campaign. Now, looking at what has just transpired by the former CGN giving a notice of retirement, some also said resignation, doesn't it seem to suggest, seem to corroborate the story made by the president on the reason why he was suspended, giving the impression that the president really acted in national interest. What do you have to say?
Well, the first thing I will want to clear, or perhaps I want to make some assertions, is that I will not lend myself to any position that seems to suggest that the president acted in the national interest. He could have acted in whatever interest, but certainly it couldn't have been an action taken in the national interest. I say this with all sense of responsibility. I say this with all sense of nationalism and love for this country, and not necessarily in solidarity with perhaps the judiciary or the person of ONNOGHEN. Not at all. Because if you want to look at it, all the imbroglio that this crisis seems to have orchestrated, concerning the allegation against the CJN, former CJ as it now seems, and the trial before the Code of Conduct Tribunal, and now the resignation, voluntary resignation by the CJN.
Some say
you find that
compulsory retirement.
Well, it is not. It wasn't compulsory retirement. The NJC recommended that he be compulsorily retired.
Based on what?
Arising from their own finding.
Okay.
You see, I was going to call to
we have the privilege to know those findings, being the constitutional.
Well, you see, I was going to come to the point that the whole scenario surrounding this whole drama, as it were, have been so opaque, as if perhaps it was a party dance between the presidency and the judiciary, and perhaps some other interested persons. But we as Nigerians, that's why I said unequivocally that whatever the president seemed to have done concerning the CJN, concerning whatever allegation they said were levied against him, couldn't have been the national interest. Because if it were to be the national interest, you will not leave us to speculation. Because we are all perhaps today likely, a large percentage of the Nigerian populace are speculating as to what wrong this CJN has committed. Hence the division along political divide, along regional divide, along tribal divide, along whatever divide you can perceive, religious divide. So that when you do not act in a way to give the impression to the people that somebody is being persecuted. So the whole scenario has been opaque. We know as a fact that there was a certain petition that a certain group raised against the CJN. And the issue is this: why the seemingly strange judicial intervention from at the platform of the so-called CCT?
Yes.
Why would it take an order of the CCT for the president to suspend the CJN? So that brings to me personally some level of collusion.
Okay.
And like I said, I am not saying this to justify whatever wrongdoing anybody has done. I am one person. I'm a lawyer by the grace of God. And that being the case, I'm also one person that will tell you that the judiciary, as it were today in Nigeria, largely has lost the confidence of the Nigerian people, arising from the fact that he could not insulate himself from the general common practice that, or saying, as it were, or whatever, maybe impression, that Nigeria is a corruption-ridden society. And
so you seem not to go well with the decisions by the NJC.
Well, the NJC is another kettle of fish. The NJC, you see, why will you always take perhaps some outside action before the agency will rise to do what they ought to be doing constitutionally. At all time, he took the rating of certain high-placed judicial officers, their residents, before the agency rose to say, okay, we want to start looking at it. Why did you not consult us and all of that? They ought to be more proactive than we are seeing. They ought to see all of this cry about corruption in the judiciary ought not to have been so loud. If the agency was actually engaged in self-cleansing, internal cleansing, they are not proactive. They are, you see, if I had a opportunity of reading through the petition raised by the said group that led to all this brouhaha.
Yes.
I read through it, and in fact there was a calling. There was a calling which also implied that agency was addressed with that letter. There was a calling on the agency to act, to investigate all of these specific allegations contained in the petition. And it was perhaps when there was I think the wind was taken out of their sail. Okay. When they were tardying, when they were delaying in taking up what ordinarily should be their responsibility.
Okay, going by what you said, I think I'm coming back to you, the constitutional lawyer, Adams Aliyu. You did say that there was a constitutional provision followed for the president to suspend the former Chief Justice. Now, he here is saying that on one account, why should it rely solely on the order by the CCT to suspend the Chief Justice of Nigeria? How do you reconcile with what your colleague said?
Well, his interpretation did not take into cognizance the recommendation of the CCT. The Code of Conduct.
Whose interpretation?
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Yes, he did not take it, but when the CCC had recommended to the president that to have a free and fair trial, let the ex-CJN be suspended. So it was, and before now, he is regarded as innocent until proven guilty. He is still in court. People should not be prejudicial or judgmental, throw stones at him and call him names. Even his appointment have been issued. I highlighted this, that it is the president's duty of section 231 sub 1 to appoint based on recommendation of the NJC and to be confirmed by the Senate. Yes. This to be confirmed by Senate. That is just in addition. Look at the case of EFCC, Mango's case. He was appointed by the president. The Senate refused to confirm him. For 2-3 years now, the man has been bearing the preface acting. And life is going on. So the most important...
Nothing is stopping him. The operations are going on.
If the Senate had confirmed him, he would not have the preface acting. Yes. Senate refused 1, 2, 3 times. He didn't confirm him. So the man is doing his job acting. So the power lies with the president to appoint. If a body is to confirm, it did not confirm, the person will answer acting. After all, the new one that replaced CGN, Ibrahim Mohammed, is bearing the preface acting. Okay. And that is going on. They have been performing duties.
Okay, thank you. That leads us to the next question, David Madoko. Now, you made mention of separations of power. You made mention of the independence of the judiciary. But again, let's look at the content of the principles of separation of power, which also brings about the checks and balances, where each organ will have to be a watchdog on each other. I think Honorable Friday Ogeraki knows exactly what we're talking about, because being one-time member of the House of Assembly, knows much on that. Now, let's look at that aspect. Don't you think that the president acted as a watchdog on the judiciary in order to curb the excesses by suspending the former Chief Justice of Nigeria?
I don't think so.
Then,
I do not think so.
Then how does the watchdog issue come in? Because if the judiciary is to be left alone to act independently, I don't know. Then how do we define checks and balances?
The checks and balances should be done judiciously and judicially and in good faith. When you do something mala fide, in bad faith, and I will explain to you. Now, all this you and cry about president acted on order of the CCT. President acted on order. The CCT is a quasi-judicial body, for God's sake. It's not a full judicial body. It's answerable to the executive arm. And people do not appreciate this. It's answerable to the executive arm. You call that fair hearing? You have 3 arms of government. You have executive, you have legislature, and you have judiciary. Now the CCT, the so-called CCT we are talking about, had orders from the Court of Appeal stopping them that, look, there's stop this thing. The president was aware of those orders. He disregarded those orders from the Court of Appeal. And you pick and choose, and you say you act in good faith? We need to tell ourselves some whole truth in this country.
Okay, then how
no, sir, please let me make this very clear. When you say the president is acting as a check and balance on the judiciary, I have no problem with that. But is it done in good faith? Excuse me, sir.
Looking at allegations.
It's your question I'm answering.
All right.
It's your question I'm answering. Now, you are saying, I would have thought that the presidency should have been more circumspect in a case like this. Because for some of us, we view what has happened as the executive using an instrument of the executive arm to fight the judiciary. And that is clearly what it is when you come down to the bare rubrics. Because the CCT is a creation of the executive, answerable. Even the Danladi Umar, who's the chairman of the CCT, has said it before. That's not answerable to anybody in judiciary. That's answerable to the president. So how can you, one arm of government, now sit over as judge, prosecutor, executor, and an executioner over another arm of government? And you call that watching over? Now they are talking about evil provisions. My other colleague here mentioned about acting. Well, that could be, but you see, when we reveal and we take delight in following a wrong procedure and a wrong precedent, let us remember that it is future. Something will be there to haunt us. Because people use power with impunity. People use power in a very strange fashion.
In Nigeria. Now,
the constitution we are talking about here stipulated it. They didn't say this one should be disregarded to a lower extent from the constitution. It said that, but you must have the confirmation. And you say, okay, even though the confirmation is not there, we can do it like this. We are all setting a bad precedent for ourselves that will haunt us. And this is what we are saying. That people should come out and say the truth, how matters are. The constitution has provided it. When it is not complied with, there's a problem. A serious problem at that.
Okay, back to you, Honorable Friday.
Yes, please.
This aspect of the independence of the judiciary,
yes,
does it take away the executive serving as a watchdog on the judiciary? And on what account should the executive do that?
Yes, the intendment, the ideal thing,
yes,
or expectation of those who enunciated the principle of separation of power.
Yes.
You know, among the 3 arms of government,
yes,
judiciary, legislature, executive, is that they should act as checks and balances.
As watchdogs.
As watchdogs. But even at that, it has to be done within the confines of the law.
Okay.
It is not something that is whimsical. It is not something that you resort to arbitrariness. I tell you again that I, sitting down here with you, I hold a strong opinion that there is deep-rooted corruption in the judiciary. But that being said, is not to justify scapegoatism. I am of the firm opinion, without an attempt to exonerate Justice Onoge, because even at its best, he was the highest judicial officer holder. The buck starts and ends on his table. And if I say here, contentiously as it were, that there is deep-rooted corruption in the judiciary, the first point of blame, witness, is at the seat of the CJN. Now, why did I say this one amounts to scapegoatism? If you have had the latest report from the ICPC, the institutionalized body that is supposed to talk about corruption in this country, what did they come out to say this morning? They said corruption is deepest in the executive. Corruption is deepest in the executive in this country. And who are we talking about here? We are talking about the presidency. We are talking about the governors of this the states of this country. We are talking about ministers. We are talking about commissioners. We are talking about local government chairmen.
It cut across strata.
So, how much of that cleansing has been done within the executive? I'm telling you, ICPC, a creation of law, came out with a report that corruption is deepest, and I agree with that strongly, because they are the one that control the resources, that managing the resources of this country. And if you are going to talk about corruption, it starts with them. So if you want to deal with corruption, you want to talk about checks and balance, you must indeed be seen standing above board. A situation whereby a prestigious anti-corruption organization had come out to say corruption is deepest in the executive. Would that not even have justified maybe a wholesale resignation of all chief executive in this country, from the presidency to the last person, as has been done now, perhaps compulsively, yes, by the CJN. So now the point is this: let us tell ourselves the home truth. Some persons wanted ONNOGHEN out of the way by all means.
So it was politicized.
And it was political. In fact, they had to cut corners, and that is the way they have always done it. And again, why do I not have so much sympathy for the judiciary? Because they have always lent themselves to be used as tools, to perpetrate all of this unconstitutionality, all of this abuse of the law. They have always lent themselves to it. Personally, I have suffered the same fate. When, as a member of the State House of Assembly, some group of legislator lawyer to the then governor, Commodore Adato Sobole, sneak into the chambers before working hours to announce an arbitrary suspension. Was he not a judge in this same state? After the government approached them, there are men and others that we could not even access our own official residence. There are men and others to that effect. And that's the way it has always been. You go for an election, and somebody openly and brazenly rig you out of the process. And what is he going to tell you? Go to the court, because they know what they are always able to do with the court, undermining the process, compromising the process. So, judiciary, this, I think, again, is another lesson for them. It's another lesson. If the highest man on top could be brought down in this manner, at the height of his judicial career, can be brought down in this manner, disgraced, humiliated, and compelled to resign.
But some also said that this resignation would have been done earlier, and not now.
Well, yes, I agree with that. Perhaps it would have been done earlier. Perhaps there was also the thinking that we are in Nigeria. This will come and go. I will be able to survive it. And you also know how much sympathy and solidarity that this experience attracted to the CJN, the former CJN. Okay. So he felt secure in all of that. But at the end of the day, it was that some people, very highly placed people, individuals, were hell-bent on the fact that this man must go. Okay. And that was what happened. Otherwise, if we were to be within the contemplation, ideally, of the watchdog theory as expressed, it would be that one will submit himself to the due process. Let the CJN be dealt with in line with the constitutional laid-down procedure. Sometime recently, when perhaps what you may call a trigger-happy policeman shot dead a youth in certain youth in Lagos, you know what happened? They didn't just go to the man, apprehend him, and drag him to court. He had to go through what is called orderly room trial. whereupon his dismissal was properly effected and then made to face the full wrath of the law. That is how it ought to be, you know, because being a judge is a higher calling. Being a judge is a higher calling. It is to some extent sacred, a sacred responsibility. Okay. And you don't begin to deal with your CJ as if he were a common criminal. There must be a way in which that while you are dealing with him, you do not throw away the baby with the bad water.
As we round off, still on you, as we round off,
yes.
Honorable Ogeraki. Now, the aspect of the decision that will be made by the president on the compulsory retirement of the former CJN is like a pendulum. We don't know where it's going to swing. Now, what do you make of the sole decision that may be taken by the president? Do you see this as right? Is it constitutional? And is it right to rest solely that decision in the office of the president?
Well, what the president would do, what the president would do, will be at this moment a matter of speculation. And by our training as lawyers, by learned friends here will be a witness, it is a luxury we do not find very convenient, you know, speculating on what the president will do or will not do. Yeah. But what we have here that is factual is the fact that the NJC has made the certain recommendation. And they have, in their recommendation, asked that the former CJN now should proceed on compulsory retirement, which perhaps is now subject to the ratification or approval of Mr. President. Until he does something with it, we may not be able to say anything. But now, before that could even be done, somebody used the word, I think that is a learned senior advocate, Ozekome. He said, what Onogen has done is to preempt. We are yet to see how you could now enforce a retirement of a man that has already resigned. I think there is a lot of things we are going to see. But I believe perhaps what is more certain in the whole scenario is that I believe perhaps whatever has happened, whether compulsory retirement or resignation, will not hamper the due process or whatever has been going on within the CCT, the trial. Okay. Because it is without prejudice to it. The Onogen did not resign, you know, with a condition that the charges against him be dropped at the CCT. Neither did am I aware that the recommendation for his compulsory retirement also has to do with the fact that the charges against him before the CCT be dropped. Okay. So I think a lot more degree of certainty is the fact that that trial will continue to its end.
Okay, thank you.
That's our expectation.
Thank you. Now, as we round off, Adam Saliu, you are a constitutional lawyer, and following the provisions of the Constitution, that decision rests solely on Mr. President, whether to dismiss or to approve compulsory retirement. Now, do you see that luxury or that discretionary power given to the president as affecting the independence of the judiciary?
When you talk of independence of judiciary, you are extending the separation of powers as enunciated by Locke and Montesquieu. We know that there are three arms of government, but the executive is the primus inter pares, is the first amongst equal.
Is the first amongst equal.
Yes.
Your colleagues are shaking their heads. They don't agree with you.
They are coordinate. They are coordinate and equal. They are coordinate and equal.
But by practice,
no, it's only in Nigeria. It's only in Nigeria that happens.
So even
in Nigeria that happens, and it's an abusive
constitution
management
gives
of power.
Executive powers to the presidency, gives legislative powers to the Congress, and gives judicial powers to the Senate. Even in France, there was a little amendment after the Fifth Republic, tilting the more powers to the executive, because each other arm of the government tilts towards the executive because of the constitutional provision.
Because they are the one that executes.
Yes. Because in most cases, they will do something, you send it to the other arm to lubricate, to support. Even if it does not support, the life goes on. So I regard the executive are primus inter pares among the three arms of government. They could, seemingly, they could be co-equal, but indeed
co-equal on paper. On paper,
indeed, and in truth,
seemingly they are not co-equal.
Yeah, at all. There is a primus inter pares, a first among all equals.
Okay.
You know, in the British system, to be a minister, you have to have won election.
Yes.
When you have all won election, you will sit down. One of you will be nominated and voted as prime minister.
Yes.
Meaning first minister. That is in England. You become first amongst equals. So out of three, there must be a leader. So the executive is leading.
So that means you are at home with that discretionary powers being given to the president.
Yes.
To decide that of the judiciary.
In every society, there must be some who lead.
Okay, thank you. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I totally disagree with that. I think that is what is obtainable in Nigeria. It does not make it right. And this is the reason why in a country like South Africa, you have an executive capital, a judicial capital, and a legislative capital. Those are people that, you know, effect the theory of separation of power the way and how it ought to be. I think they should be equal, and they should serve as checks and balances over each other. Which I think the notion that executive is the head is the bane of our problem in Nigeria.
So which means we have to go back to our laws.
It's the
we have to go back to the constitution. Because you read about a capital executive.
Yes,
but we don't have it here.
Legislators are not, sorry, with due respect, my friend here, to me, they ought to do much more. I hope we have learned from everything happening in Nigeria, so that the necessary amendments.
You seem to be passing the blame also on the legislature.
Yes, the legislature, they have their own faults.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of laws.
Just as the executive and the judiciary.
Because, for instance, I don't see why immunity should endure for the president, and not the Senate president and the Chief Justice of Nigeria.
Exactly.
Why not?
Is it not possible that it's because they don't execute?
No.
It's only one that executes.
To show that they are equal arms of government. You see, it's because of those kind of things that you have the notion that executive is number one. Because, I mean, the president, the head of the executive, he has immunity. The Senate president should have immunity as head of the legislature, and the Chief Judiciary. Yes. To balance it. Ordinary. And that's what the legislature, those kind of issues and the amendments they should be looking into.
Okay.
But let's leave all that aside. Now, the politics is already heated with all this imbroglio about Onoghen and all that. I think the president should be careful in taking a decision on how to, you know, accept and ratify or whatever the resignation profiled by Onoghen. Do not forget, so that we don't get things blood.
The resignation, we also having notice of retirement.
Yes, the man
that will be cleared.
Yes, the man is resigning from the judiciary. I think my own interpretation, it encompasses his leaving office as CJN and his leaving office as a justice of the Supreme Court, because they are two different things.
Okay.
The man could easily, because what was recommended by NJC was leaving as CJN, not as a justice of the Supreme Court. So let's not get it muddled up.
Okay.
But the man has also considered
was that the recommendation?
Yes, to leave as CJN. To leave as CJN.
To leave the service. To leave the service.
Ordinarily, the man.
Because what we have as supposed to have it, that the recommendation is that to go on compulsory retirement.
To leave the service.
That's what we know. I remember vividly, even when the constitutional lawyer Adam Saliu was saying that we don't have the decisions reached by NJC.
Let me put it this way.
So is it possible that there are other decisions?
Okay, let me put it this way.
Is it possible that it's not just on the retirement?
Let me put it this way. He has an option. Let me put it this way. He has an option to have pulled out as CJN. But that would also have left him in an awkward situation.
Okay.
Because if he remains as a justice of the Supreme Court, I mean, by all the principles we know, the acting would ordinarily have been his junior, lording it over him. So the best action, what I'm trying to say is, considering the circumstances of the whole case, the NJC has considered it and made their recommendation. The man also, it is also a strategic thing for him to have done his resignation a day after the recommendation of the NJC. Okay. He didn't do it through the pressure of all this time, but a day after the recommendation of the NJC is when he did it. It shows, it gives a message. It shows that he's saying, I subscribe to this authority.
Okay, your final words?
Yes, my final words is this. The politics has been heated. I think the president should try as much as possible to take a decision on this ONNOGHEN'S matter that will be in the interest of Nigeria and in the interest of dousing all the tension that has been created in this matter.
Thank you. Honorable Friday Ogiraki,
yes,
your final words on this.
Yeah, well, I think we have seen just yet another drama in our historical evolution as a people. I do not think perhaps this was the best way we could have handled this matter. I think there could have been better ways to do it as civilized people without necessarily attempting to denigrate the institution, because what today perhaps is our greatest problem is the fact that we have no respect for institutions. And even the institutions, as it were, those who manage it don't even have respect for it, as it were. So we ought to be more mindful of the kind of implication that this will result to. You know, because you see, this whole thing has led to very dangerous speculation within the society. And this is a society where rumor mongering is a pastime that even be judicially held. It's a pastime. In many places, people are speculating what could have been the reason for this man being treated in this manner. Right. So, government own all of us a responsibility.
Thank you.
Of information.
Thank you.
Enough of this opaque dealing. Enough of this high horse handling of affairs of this country. The president, as it were, is not even above the law, much more a CGL. But let everything be, let all of us surrender to the law.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Adam Saliu, in 1 minute, please.
Yes, the matter is sub judice, before the court. The prosecution has laid out charges, and I'm very interested in the outcome and judgment of this case, because if the XCJ is free with all the monumental evidence, it means nobody is corrupt in this country. So we leave we await the judgment of the court.
All right, thank you, Honorable Friday Ogiraki. Thank you, Adam Saliu. Thank you, David Manugo, for taking our time and for coming through all of this. Well, this is what we call it a wrap on the discussion segment. We just hope that as events unfold, looking at the decision the president will be taking, I think all eyes are on that. Very, very inquisitive Nigerians are yearning, waiting to really get that. And some did say if the president takes a negative decision that may not go well with the former CGN, it could spark reactions. You know, basically anything that the president says or does will always be faced with reactions. Well, we wait until the events unfold, and that's where we call it a wrap. Next will be another segment that will lead us to the closing of this show. Don't you go away. It's TMI. Good morning.